everyone, this is Chris, and you're watching One Cross Video. So today's topic is, before I get into it, I'm also trying to figure out what the schedule of the OCR shorts will be. Weekly appeals to me, but it could also be bi-weekly, where it's like, hey, a podcast episode drops 1 week, so then the week off in between I drop a video. Let me know what you guys think. I'm curious, but I'm excited to keep these going. And thank you to all our YouTube subscribers. In the past month, we've gotten 3 new ones, so thank you. And also want to take the moment to shout out my patrons, Nate and Bex. Thank you guys so much. You're awesome. If anybody watching wants to check out the Patreon or feels they can financially contribute, you can hit up patreon.com/onecrossradio. So today's topic is kind of inspired by a conversation I had with a friend of mine, who was a former student at one of my former places of work. So it's also kind of based on a topic that I've done a full podcast episode about before. I'll put the link down in the description. We're talking around social work or social ministry. And I feel like a number of these things can apply to straight up ministry as well, because there are a number of similarities. You're in ministry and social ministry. One of my mustache hairs is blonde, and it's just really sticking out. I could have gone with not noticing that. Now I won't be able to stop seeing it, and I'm sure neither will you. Definitely going to trim that sucker. Also, just really realizing at this angle, the brown hair, which looks a lot darker because I just rinsed off with cold water because it's disgustingly hot. But dark hair, brown hair, blonde eyebrows, red beard. What? Okay, so yeah, I do think there are quite a number of similarities between social work and ministry, and when you get those hybrids, which I'll call social ministry, where there could be a church and gospel focus within doing the social work. And that's why I think this might cover a multitude of things. And this isn't like, oh, hey, you absolutely have to listen to me, because, well, one, you don't. You can turn off the video at any point. Please don't, though. But I'd like to think this might be a good perspective, and I'd also like to think I at least know a little bit of what I'm talking about, because I've been involved in ministry for a number of years, social work and social ministry for about 10 or so years, formally, like as a line of work, and informally, that's still continuing. So the couple things is, one, I'll put the link to the podcast episode in the description. That way, if you want to check it out, I encourage you to do it. I've really enjoyed that episode, and maybe I'll go back to it. But this video also might scratch that itch. First thing is, if you're thinking of getting into this line of work, I'd encourage it. But two, and I'll say, especially in a way, if you're a Christian, and it does apply to everybody, I'd say you got to be ready to work with people that you are going to have disagreements with, that you're not going, they might be not, like, your coworkers might be living or advocating a lifestyle you disagree with. You got to check your issues at the door. If they're going to impact, say, your stance, your fervent stance on something as heavy as, say, abortion, if that's going to be a hurdle, that you're like, I can't work with people who would advocate for that or whatever, don't get in this line of work. Because as much as it might be like, I'm just in my disagreement, I'm not saying you're not, but you're going to be working for people and with agencies that are trying to make at-risk people as welcome and as loving, and get them as accessible to resources as possible. And if you're hung up on certain things, whatever they may be, and you can't check that at the door, you shouldn't be doing this. You should not be getting into this line of work. This line of work is not a platform for you to push your beliefs in. You are there to help people who are going through some of the worst times of their lives, who are going through issues with addiction, being involved in human trafficking or formerly out of human trafficking, or people who are active sex workers. And if you have issues with these things, I'm not saying you can't, but you don't take that to work with you. You check that at the door, because it's not about you. It's about helping them. And that's something that it's been a while since I've been at school, but that's something I wish my program had emphasized more. I don't think you need to, like, people will say, like, oh, social work is NDP, and it leans quite left, because a lot of current social work was formed out of the NDP. History of the NDP is it was started by a Baptist minister out of a church. So a lot of these things and reaching these people is biblical. But if you're struggling with that stuff, either work it out or you can't get into the field. It might not be the right place for you. And that's okay. You can find other agencies. You can find other places where it's like, okay, this thing that I, for whatever reason, can't get past, I can't check myself, I know it's going to affect me negatively, and then I will be, not intentionally necessarily, but I will be bringing it down or taking it out, or however it'll impact my work, and that's not what these people need. Recognize that and go. And that, like, I'm not saying that to be dismissive, it's just to be plainly real, blanketly real. Because even working with some other students or other staff who had never had some of these experiences, you're just like, look, man, you're gonna be in for a bit of an adjustment, a bit of an awakening, and there are gonna be people who are doing things that you think are truly reprehensible or what have you, but you're not here to judge, you're not here to label, you're not here to browbeat, you're here to give access, to help, and to empower them and assist for them to get beyond this period. So if you can't check your personal politics or beliefs at the door, or rein them in, or not have it be like, I don't think I can help this person because they're saying these things, like, you're gonna get offended. You're doesn't matter if you're a believer or non-believer, if you're left or right, or center, none of this stuff matters. It's a rough spot, so you got to make it as unrough as possible. So I hope that part's helpful. The other thing is, and this came up in the conversation with a friend, and this I'll say should have, like, to me, this is a given. It should be in every workplace, but I'll say especially people work, so with psychiatrists, hospitals, social work institutions, and I'll definitely argue ministry. Debrief. Absolutely debrief. Some of the comments I heard at points were just like, I'm surprised that I'm so thankful that happened, because that's not always the case. I'm like, what? That needs to be. Because you're gonna, with working with people in, I'd say, any capacity, there is a drain there within ministry and social work and others I listed. I'll say especially because you're working with people at a very rough time in their lives that's emotionally draining, emotionally scarring for them, And at times, they will be harsh, they will be standoffish. You're also working with other people who are going through their own stuff and then going through what's going on at work. You need to have that safe space to debrief. You need to be able to go in, to have people to talk to get stuff off your chest, even if it's about a fellow coworker. Now, in that case, I think there's definitely room for that. Now, people can do things the wrong way if they're having issues with a coworker. If it's just like, hey, so-and-so is really, really frustrating me today, and I just need to get that off my chest because I've said it, it's out, it's done, I'm gone. I don't have an inherent issue with that. I'm not looking at that as gossip or slander, because I have no doubt that people did that with me, and I'm fine with that because I know I know at work times I was probably annoying to people, or my method of doing something wasn't theirs, and it was a draining day, and so on and on and on I go. So there was no ill will. You can constructively do that and get it off your chest. If it's an ongoing issue, then yeah, you take it to that person, and then if they're, especially depending on the severity of the issue, then you go to management. But you don't just start yapping off to everyone in an open room about how sucky Chris is today. Like, nah, if say it's me, say I'm really grating on you that day and you need to get it off your chest, I'd be like, absolutely, have someone you can vent with, like, well, today's shift sucked, it was really draining, and for whatever reason, Chris in particular was really draining. That's not gossip or slander. So I think that should be a need, especially for just in general, and it's also not just to rant about coworkers or Chris, but to have a space to just decompress, because you do the best you can to leave work at work and home at home. But sometimes there will be that bleed over, and you'll have had a terrible sleep, or you in your personal life are going through a very stressful time that will impact how you work. Having that space to just be straight up about what you're going through is good, because then you're like, okay, someone else knows. So if I'm iffy today, it's known, like my coworker knows. That's not to give excuses, but it's reasoning. And then especially if it's a rough shift with youth, if you're working with adults, whatever it may be, all I can do is advocate for debriefing. And find somebody within your workplace that you can debrief with. And I'd especially say within your workplace, because you want it as much as possible to leave work at work, so it's not just draining you when you go home. So you're leaving it at work. That's what I say. So hope this was a good video. Hope there was some good learning. Let me know what you think. Hope you enjoyed it, and also let me know what you think the schedule should be, because I'm still figuring this out, but I'm excited to do more of these. All that being said, have a wonderful day, take care, and God bless, my friends. Also, seek out Power Rangers RPM. It is one of the best Power Rangers series. Peace.